Well, hey,
Well,
welcome back to the
hold.
podcast.
Oh, it's already started. Okay.
No, we're started.
Yeah, I didn't realize it had already been started. Okay, great. Go for it.
I made Anna start this thing so that
I
I could
mean,
say, "Welcome back to the podcast, Miss Eve Stipes. Long time no
hello,
see. It's
hello.
yay! I mean, we got to call this something.
I
Catching up
know.
with
I think we should take
catching
people's
up with Ruth
suggestions.
and Eve.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody tell us what the segment is because Annie Downs and Eddie, they have their little Annie and Eddie moment.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out what this is because I want you on pretty regularly. I mean, this is how it used to always be, but
Used to
just
be.
because I have a solo show doesn't mean I want to be all by myself all the time.
We got to pop
Okay,
in.
but before we move on, for the YouTube channel, but also for anyone listening, have you ever seen me in sweats? I just want to say, I was like, am I allowed to show up in sweats
Okay.
when I'm now on camera?
Do you,
Did you notice
do
it?
you know what's hilarious is that right now I'm
What?
totally doing Zoom meeting where it's like business on top. I have sweatpants on.
Do you really?
I do.
You're in a button up, right?
I'm in a button up and really comfy
But
sweatpants and like house slippers.
oh my gosh. You remember that video of that guy who took the really
Yeah.
important call and he's like totally dressed on top. Okay, anyway. Yes, all the party on top and
Mm-hmm.
I mean the
Business on top.
the business on top, party on the bottom. Yeah, all comfy. Well, today I was like, okay, listen, I bought this like slightly more elevated sweatsuit when I was in Atlanta with the girls at the book
Market.
signing tour thing. And there's a shop, probably most people know about this. I just am a small town, mountain town girl, so I don't know. But there's a brand called Cos, I think, COS,
I don't know
which
it.
I mean, everybody's like, oh, Ruth, yes, we know about it. But I did not know about it. And so I was like, oh, this looks like elevated sweats for a middle-aged woman like me, because it's like, it looks like denim. Right? Can you
I
see
love it.
me?
Yeah, it
It looks
does.
like denim, but it's sweats and it's a little wide leg. It's a little like I can travel in it. And
Oh,
so
fancy.
I don't know if you know this, but on that same trip, Mallory, designer Mallory, our
Yeah.
Grace Lace designer, she was with me and she got me real excited about this one pair of jeans that was on the clearance rack. So, you walk straight back to the clearance rack
Right.
because you're not looking at full price things. So walk straight back to the clearance rack. And she goes, this looks like Ruth. And it was a pair of wide leg denim jeans with studs and rhinestones all up the leg. It went all the way up to the knee. And I was kind of like, I actually love them. And she goes, I really think these are like for you. And there was only one pair left. And of course, they fit
Of
perfectly.
course.
And so I wore them to the book signing that night and they're kind of heavy. I
Yeah,
click
I
and clang,
imagine.
like I bang things because they're like riveted. They're not just like glued on, but they're
Wow.
riveted.
That's
And so I
intense.
was like, I feel like I'm wearing chainmail, right? But Eve, I have a sad story. And I did tell Anna and Mallory already, and both of them grieved. And we like took a moment to grieve it.
What
But I
happened?
washed them. I followed the care instructions. I
Okay.
washed them. I turned them inside out. And even though they're riveted down, the rhinestones are riveted onto my jeans.
Yeah.
The little rhinestone part is glued onto the rivet and
Ah.
they came off.
Oh, that's
There
so
was like a
sad.
massacre of rhinestones at the base of my washing machine. And I collected all of them, but now I have a top loader. I know this is not, we got to get to our content today, but the conversation is not about this, but I leaned over the edge of the washing machine with my legs like dangling because I
To
couldn't
get him.
reach it to like go rescue these tiny little orphaned rhinestones.
Oh.
So now I either want to call customer service or I'm just going to glue them back on. But anyway, that was
I'm
my
glad they were
experience.
on the clearance rack, but maybe that's why.
Maybe they had people who also said, these are no longer rivets and rhinestones. They're just
Just
rivets now
rivets.
because the rhinestones keep falling off. So
Yeah. Sad day. Well, at
So
least
if you see,
you got one
if you
good
see
wear
me,
out
I
of
might
them.
wear them.
Yeah.
I got to do better than that, Eve, with my shopping experiences. Like it's got to be. But I told everybody when you were not on, I told everybody about the
Eclectic.
time. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if anybody else liked our experience as much as I liked telling the story of our experience.
But you know
I
what?
did get a couple of funny comments about it, but
You got a really good you picked out some good stuff, but the best part of that trip was actually the tip from the girl who worked there when we were leaving. We were looking for a place to go eat and
I didn't even share about this.
she
I'm so glad you
recommended
reminded.
the best Thai food I've had it in a long time. I can't remember the name of
Okay,
it,
what
but
was
it
it
was
called?
I don't know. It was so
Oh
good though.
no.
Did you put it in your stories? We'll have to go back and look.
Is it Chan Pin? Something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
you're right. It was something
That
like that.
sounds right.
It was so good.
And it was so good. It was so good. So,
She steered us in the right
yes.
direction.
I feel like that was the best thing that we got out of that trip. Wasn't my denim jacket, wasn't all the awkward trying on things. It was the Thai food recommendation. Yes.
Yeah, it was stellar.
Well, I mean, I don't get to always see you in person. I don't know if people know that we work together every day. Eve is the executive director for Ruth Joe Simons, like as in my boss of all things that I do in publishing and all the things, just to keep my life in order, just to keep me missionally aligned. But up until this point, the podcast was hosted by the two of us.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be bringing her back regularly. Everybody say amen. Yes, we love that. And
Yay.
so Eve and I are going to not pre-plan our podcast episodes because it's kind of weird when two friends are like, let's go have coffee. But when we have coffee,
Let's talk
we will
about.
talk about these are the three things we're going to talk about. Okay. And then when we talk about it, let's pretend other people are listening to us and let's make sure we say it a certain way so that everybody will like what we're saying. Could you imagine if we went to coffee this way?
It's a little
Instead,
awkward.
we're actually real friends and we always have things to catch up on, like me talking about wearing sweatshirts and feeling a little weird about wearing a hoodie today. But anyway, we always have things to say. And so
True.
we came unprepared. We know the three questions we're going to answer.
Yep.
But we don't know what the other person's going to say.
Yeah.
And so whenever
Surprise.
it's a Ruth and Eve catching up episode, you're going to basically hear both of our perspectives in answering three questions. Should we tell them what the questions are?
Yeah. First one is.
Did we decide what the three
Well, I
questions
was just pulling up. Like, did you text me what they are?
Did we decide?
I think we decided. I think we decided on what we're loving, something we're loving. I actually have to go look because I honestly can't remember. Oh yeah, what we're loving, something we're learning, and something we're letting go of, which might be the best question.
Dun, dun, dun. I actually really love it because I feel like we needed like good, wholesome, good content of like what we want to help you guys grow in things and love the things that we're loving, whether they're like tangible things or things that we're thinking about. But then I feel like it's always a good question to figure out what are things that we're letting go of. Yeah. And so I'm kind of excited about it because I have no idea what you're going to say because we didn't prepare for this. Because real friends don't go to coffee and predetermine what they're going to talk about.
They just talk about it.
We have an outline, and sometimes friends have to do that, but we have an outline. So,
make sure.
All right. So here's the thing, friends. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast, leave a comment, send in an email, tell us your answers because this would feel like a much more of a regular conversation. I feel like if we could do this once a month, I mean, no promises, but if we can, since your life, my life, ish, I know. But if we can do this once a month, I feel like there's a lot of ways in which we'll grow because whenever you share those things with me, granted, you and I share a lot of funky things with each other what is the one that you shared with me this morning? It was
about eating a snack before you go to bed so that you don't wake up at 3
Because that you wake up in the morning at 3 a.m.
with low blood sugar.
Could be because you have a sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh, does that mean I need a bowl of ice cream? And then when this expert was like, that means you should maybe take a tablespoon of honey. I was like, okay, not the same thing. I don't get to go to bed with a bowl of ice cream to help my glucose levels at 3:30 in the morning. But anyway, that was quite the interesting little tidbit. But I don't know. Do we know he's right? We don't know.
Well, I've heard this from more than one source that seems to be reliable. So that's why I sent it to you because I was like, okay, I think this is legit. So I'm going to send it to her because if you don't know, Ruth sometimes struggles with waking up at 3 a.m. and not being able to go back to sleep. And it's like an actual problem sometimes. So
it's really, it was more of a problem before I started addressing some perimenopausal things. But I think what he's described was so true in that I wake up and immediately like my brain is on. It's like I immediately am like, let's think of everything that I basically need to solve right now. And all the people I should be texting to like resolve this issue with or get answers from at 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. And then it's like horrible if I don't get out of bed and just write them down And then if I get out of bed and write it down,
You
I
might as well
actually
get up.
can't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's the issue that I'm getting better. I think it's been
Yeah.
5:30. Earliest is about 5 these days.
Much better.
Do I seem like a happier person?
When you sleep, you are always
So
happier.
I do feel like I am doing a lot better. And yeah. So, okay, let's get to it. So, friends, it's what we're loving, what we're learning, and what we're letting go of.
Yeah, you go first.
You want to go first?
No, you go
Okay.
first. What are you loving?
I took a second to think about this, and mine for this week is not a thing. So
Oh,
I
okay.
always have things. Because you know me, I'm always like, I love this lipstick or I love this new dressing or whatever. I'm always into a thing. But this time, what I'm loving is, and you already know this, but I'm going to share it with the world. I am loving my new schedule. My new schedule
Yeah.
is changing my life. So, a couple years ago, I did read Cal Newport's book, right?
Yep.
It's Cal Newport.
Yep.
Newport?
That's right. Deep
Yeah.
work.
Deep work. We'll link it. And lots of you have read it, I'm sure. But it really did begin to change my perspective. I think we talked about it when the team went to Mexico. It was changing my perspective about why I feel like I can't concentrate, why I feel like I constantly try to do something, but then I can't I can't really get much done, or I feel like I'm not creative. Like the constant sense of like, I don't have creative energy. I must not have any good ideas. How do I write this next book? But then I legitimately have multiple hats. So like Cal Newport was writing from a perspective of being a university professor who was also writing books. And I'm like, I run a business. I actually still CEO a business.
Yeah.
I speak and travel pretty regularly. I write books. I'm a mama to, 3 boys at home, but 6 boys. What else? That's all. But I mean, like those are the major hats I wear and then we have to throw in podcasting and all the meetings, and there's just so much. And so we finally got to the point where I was like, I think there are some buckets. The buckets are my Grace Lace bucket and my Ruth Jo Simons authoring and speaking bucket. And how do I work this out? I don't necessarily need to give away my exact schedule on air to the public because I don't need you calling me. I don't need you calling me, friends,
It's Grace
on
Lace
certain
Day.
days. Yes. Wow, let's text her on this day. No, you don't need to. But it just works out where I can really focus. Like I can have all the meetings with all my team members on a certain day for all the things we're deciding about Grace Lace products, Grace Lace sales, all the things about art and assets and videos and reels. All that can happen on 2 days of the week. And I'm not saying it's only 2 days. It's just that all I can,
the majority
all
of
I can manage, all I can personally manage right now in my life is to make it really, really strategic on those 2 days. And then to have 2 really strategic days when I'm writing, and then 1 really strategic day when I'm doing all my media and publicity and press. And if there's interviews or if I'm doing this podcast right now, this is on a particular day that I've carved out that I get to wear sweats. No, just kidding. So it's really working, Eve. I don't know if I mean, I think I told you, didn't I text you like the first few
After
days?
the first
I was
week,
like, I think I love my life again. and that could be due to a lot of things. I might have drank more water as well that week. It could be that I had some protein. Maybe I ate and maybe I drank. Maybe I slept more than 6 hours. All those things are good. But I think what made a huge difference and what I was loving was realizing I know what I'm doing today. And I don't have to do it all. I don't have to do everything. I don't have to problem solve every issue in my life because I know what I'm supposed to do today. And then tomorrow I get to tackle another set of issues. And that really has made it possible for me to remember my first episode, friends. Eve wasn't with me on that very first one, but I said, in this new year, if I was choosing a word at all, it's stewardship. It's like, want to steward it well. Because the opposite of stewarding it is really just to like let it go in the wind and just be like, well, I'll just keep striving and hustling and whatever happens, happens. and honestly, for me, the opposite of stewarding is probably burnout and giving up, is to be like, I don't want to steward any of it. So I either intentionally steward or I don't steward any of it. And it all just becomes accidental, like, I guess. And then most of the time I get really discouraged. So yay, friends, I'm actually making progress. So I'm loving that.
Well, I think what makes the difference too is that, like when something comes to mind, it's not like, oh, I have to fit it in right now, because you're like, oh, I can deal with that on Thursday, or like I can talk about that, I can tuck it away. I know I'm going to get to it. I don't have to do it right
Well,
this second.
and the team is holding me accountable
Yeah.
because even you'll be like, let's put that on the list for when you and I talk. Or Anna will say, that's a question that I'll put on my list for Thursday when you and I talk about that
Yeah.
topic. That way we don't all stop in the middle of everything because
Yeah.
we all love each other. And we genuinely love each other. The team
We
loves
do.
each other. And we also are small enough that we actually talk all the time and work on lots of things, whether it's on text or Slack or Asana or FaceTime. We're always engaging in things. And so it's really easy if I go, what about X? And that
Everybody's like,
issue,
okay.
X, Y, and Z can suddenly be like what we pivot to and we all try to tackle it. And then everybody's like, I wonder why we can't get stuff done as well because we're not bucketing. So
Yeah.
I am loving my new schedule. I kind of forced my team to work on my schedule at some level, but I hope ultimately, maybe someday we can do a team episode too, where I can just
Yeah.
hear how it's going for everybody else. But I'm loving it. Okay. What are you
Good.
loving? You tell me.
Um, right now, this is not always the case. I need to preface this. This is not always the case, but right now, as in like the moment that we are sitting here, I am really enjoying the morning time, which
Ooh,
is a little bit vague, but let me tell you a little bit more about it.
okay,
So,
wait, hold on. You're really not saying you're loving cold plunging because that would have been the best.
well,
That would have been the best.
I'll save that for another time because I do love
Okay,
that
okay.
and I would love to tell you all about it.
Okay, tell me about it another
But
time.
no, morning time right now. So you and I talked about this, and we may have even mentioned it somewhere in social media, or maybe when we were talking about the book club, that we're going to make February the new January. Like February is the time to
Mhm.
start things. And I had seen such a fascinating video of a friend of mine who does all kinds of stuff with your nervous system. But she was talking about how January is actually the worst time of year for you to like set goals because you're coming off of the holidays where you're the most dysregulated. You're like,
Right?
what day is it? How much cheese did I eat? Like, where are we
So
going?
much
Yeah,
cheese.
like,
So
what's
much
happening?
cheese, Eve.
And so
Ah, so much
she said
cheese.
this is the worst time of year for you to actually try and set goals or think about your life because you're so out of routine. And I thought, I'm going to embrace that wholeheartedly. So I just took January to kind of settle, which ended up being good because it was a strange month. It took us a while to get into a routine.
Yeah.
I traveled some with you, which was so fun. And then I was sick. So this week, the first full week of February, was my January one. And so I was like, okay, so kind of settling into a new rhythm and routine for reading my Bible, which I don't necessarily reset every year. I'm not always a read through the Bible in a year kind of person.
Hmm.
But I am this year. At least I am this week so far. But so a couple things that have made this routine like lovely that I look forward to. I set up a chair in my bedroom, which we've never had a chair in there. We've always just had our bed. And so it's not a place you hang out. But we got some new things, moved things around. And so I have a chair to sit in. And it's like a big
And it's
oversized
not
chair.
covered with
No,
laundry. I'm so impressed. You don't
it's,
like throw all your clothes on it?
I,
Because my
we,
chair might have a week's worth of clothes on it. Just
we've had
just
to,
in all honesty.
it's one of my priorities. So at night, if I know I'm going to want to sit there in the morning, if things have been thrown
Good for
there,
you.
I've been putting them away
Uh-huh.
or just moving them to the
Um,
bed in the morning.
amazing.
So,
Amazing.
and it gets cleared one way or the other.
So it's not a chair drobe?
No, it's not a wardrobe. I sit down, I have my Bible, I got my stuff. But also I've been making this really delicious turmeric tea, which is one of our weird
I
crunchy
love
things to go back and
Oh, that
forth.
is weird and crunchy.
Yeah.
Turmeric. I do turmeric and coffee, but you have a turmeric tea?
Well, I mean, I just make it. It's just you mix
Mm-hmm.
together turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, and
You know
black
Trader Joe's
pepper.
sells that, right?
Well, and black pepper, and then you
Trader Joe's
just
sells yeah, those are like the magic ingredients, right? I do that
apparently,
in like immunity shots.
yeah, yeah.
Like great. Okay, but this is
So
the hot
you just
version.
mix it all up, and then you use like a quarter teaspoon in hot water and add some lemon and honey. And so
Look at us be
I
parallel crunchy
know
people.
it's
I
been
didn't
so
know.
delicious. It's like warm and soothing, but it's not caffeine, so it doesn't make you like jittery before you eat breakfast. It's like good for all the inflammation and things in your body and your guts. So it's
I'm so
weirdly
impressed.
weirdly something to look forward to. Where you're like, I've got my cup of tea. I'm gonna
Okay, what
sit
time do you
down.
get up? I don't
Well,
know if I know this
okay, so
because
this is the other thing. I have not been doing it before everybody wakes up. I've been doing it like between when they leave and before I start for work.
Yeah, it really is magic sauce to like
I
have
know.
a little bit of time carved out.
Yeah, so like they even if they're not all the way leaving by 7:30, I'm like, "Okay, bye." I go sit in my chair and shut the door and everybody knows. So, yeah, if I'm feeling really good, I usually get up at like 5:45, but I have not I'm still working through this cold and it's not been
Yeah.
a great time for early mornings. So, I like
I love
mornings,
that.
not early mornings.
I'm so impressed. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna note to self, gonna turn my immunity shots into
Tea.
a hot tea version
Yeah.
because I've already been doing the whole black pepper, cinnamon,
Yeah.
did you say cayenne? Do you do
I
cayenne?
haven't
I
done
put a little
cayenne, but I've
cayenne
heard
in it.
cayenne in there, yeah. Ginger
Yeah.
and
And then I
turmeric.
do lemon and yeah, great
So good.
ginger like crazy. I know. So I actually feel like it's what keeps me healthy when I hug 200 people or sit on a plane over and over and stuff. So I'm doing pretty good. I didn't get sick this last round when you and Troy were sick at the same time,
Yeah.
even though we don't live in the same town, but you guys literally
We're both sick
were
at the same
like
time.
deathly sick. Probably with some kind of flu or something because it was more than a cold. I mean, Troy's was
Yeah.
more than a cold.
Cody, my husband, tested positive for COVID. So I have a feeling that's maybe
Mm,
what it was, but my at home test said negative. So who knows?
mm.
Are we still testing for that?
Well, I know. Well, Troy he's still lingering a little bit of cough,
Yeah, me too.
um, but none of us really got it, and but I also didn't like hang out with him very much. I was like, "Love you, I've missed you," but he's like,
See you
"I'm
over
going to the
there.
basement." I know. I was like, "I kind of can't afford to be sick right now. I'm about to get on a plane
Yeah.
and do some things," and so yeah, I'm glad he's better, but I don't know. We'll keep reporting back, friends,
Yes.
on how
The tea.
the morning version of the immunity shot works and stuff. Okay,
Can't hurt
so
anything.
next question: what are we learning?
Learning.
I'm looking at my notes. Okay, well, again, I'm going to come with probably some more concrete things in the future, but this was my first go, so bear with me. I wrote that I'm learning. Okay, I don't know if you know this about me. I'm learning how to take care of my skin from the inside out. I'm like on
Oh.
a new thing. So maybe this is our health episode a little bit here, but I have notoriously been like, I've gotten away with a lot of bad skincare for a lot
Like
of
you never
years.
wash your face at night.
I've admitted
Occasionally.
this to you, right? I
Yes.
really admitted this. Like for 40 years, I think I was just like, why do I have to? Like I mean, this
It'll be
makeup's still good.
fine.
It'll look good. It'll look good in the morning. Like it just okay. And I'm one of those people that had to learn the hard way that just because your makeup looks really good at night and you really just want to get up and go in the
Go.
morning, usually you end up taking all your makeup off in the morning because it doesn't look so good. And then you wonder, why didn't I just take this off all last night?
Yeah.
So I learned. But I feel different. I feel different. I see myself with eyes that I just I feel like I look different too. Like there's just things about myself that
Yeah.
I could get away with for a long time. And for a long time I would say, "Oh, I don't feel like I have any crepey skin." Well, now I know what crepey skin means because I see some of it. And makeup may work and it's helpful and you see me on a filtered or we're on a nice lens and it just I'm not complaining as much as I'm saying I notice a change in my body, right?
Right.
I notice a lot of things. And so whereas I could get away with not washing my face for years and years and then going to a Neutrogena wipe for years and years, which I hear is really bad. But and then I got on my Primally Pure kick where I started using cleansing oil, all the things. Yes, I'll probably just put a link in the
Yeah.
show notes so
It's
you
so
guys don't
good.
email me constantly about it. But I really do have a whole list of things that I really do love that are
Yeah.
natural based products. So I am using that. However, I guess I'm just realizing how much sleep and water just I don't know why I don't know why I'm saying this. I'm like, "Oh, so it really does make a difference, especially when you live in like the desert climate." So let's people have been
Yes.
saying this for
You
years,
should
but I don't
drink
pay attention.
water.
I just don't listen. I just don't listen. I think I'm just so I know I don't think the average person thinks of Ruth Jo Simons and goes, "Oh, she's so contrarian and so rebellious." Hopefully, you don't think that, and I don't think most people think that of me. But people who know me best know that I don't like to be told what to do. And if you
Yes.
tell me what to do, I actually end up being like, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. Like if you are like, you have to do this, I'm actually going to
It's
be
like,
like,
no, I
no,
don't.
nope. And then if you're like, this can't be done, I'll be like, well, then I'm going to try. So I tend to actually be more like contrarian, a little grumpy and a little, don't boss me. And so the whole like skincare, everybody going to Ulta, everybody learning about all these products, I skipped that whole season of my life. The decade where everybody was running to Sephora and Ulta and getting into all these brands, I was like, why? Why do we need to do that? It doesn't even matter. My skin's fine. I'm not breaking out. It's fine. But now that I am approaching 50, I have a whole new outlook where I'm like, wait, you mean what I eat and what I drink will surface on my skin and cause me to either get wrinkly or like keep, like it just shows, right? It just
Yeah.
shows. So everybody else might be like, oh my goodness, Ruth, let me send you 10 articles about this. But I'm just saying, this is what I'm learning. I'm learning that it actually would do my body well to be hydrated, that
Yeah.
skin is affected by hydration, and that when I have really dry skin because I live in the mountain deserty climate of Colorado, that it actually, like my hair is like staticky and flying away. Well, hydration matters on like, well, I don't know about hair, but with my skin. So I'm really loving kind of knowing um, that I can take care of the things that are aesthetically some things that I feel like I'm noticing. I'm taking care of them from the inside out. So that's a new thing for me.
I love it.
I know. You're just like, wow, Ruth, I could have sent you 10 articles by now
No,
about this.
I just think like I'm pretty sure as a team at some point we gifted you with a Stanley Cup because it was like, you have got to drink some water. Because she would go
I
like a whole day and she'd be like, yeah, I had a cup of coffee this morning and that was it. It's like, that's
know. Oh,
not
no
okay.
joke. No, I think I went through all of 2024. We've established this fact. Between middle of 2023 to almost the end of 2024 was a really hard season. It was just a really, really
Yeah.
hard season. I think I was coming out of the hard season and then Judah had his accident and it continued to be a very hard season. But for about a year and a half, I think I was putting one foot in front of the other and like running. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
sprinting and putting one foot in front of the other. And I regularly remember, and some of our teammates are in person, and the ones who are in person, I think can testify. I would go all day without, sometimes I just wouldn't eat because if nobody made me anything,
Right.
I didn't have the bandwidth. And I would start with the day with meetings or interviews, and then I'd have to put out a fire, or something would happen, and I would find myself not eating until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'd be like, huh, I had one Americano and one LaCroix or one like seltzer water out of a can. Like that's the total
As it
amount of
liquids.
liquid. And I was like, I wonder why I don't feel that great. And I think there have literally been a few times where whether it was Anna or Troy would like hand me a glass, like
Uh-huh.
literally be like,
Here you go.
drink water. And I'm doing real good with that
I'm
right
so
now.
glad.
I'm so proud of myself. I'm learning.
I'm so
I
happy to
know,
hear
so
that.
bad.
Hilarious.
So bad. Okay, what are you learning?
Oh man. I feel like I was thinking about this question and I could go a couple different directions. But I think what I'm learning more and more is something we've talked about a lot on the podcast before, definitely in our conversations, but is just how much my phone will run me if I don't run it.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
one of the things that
Yeah,
we have started doing is like charging our phone somewhere else in our bedroom, which is like a tip that you hear, like it's like the
yeah.
classic 101 for anybody who's talking about kind of like healthy habits with your phone or anything like that. It's like charge them somewhere else. And I always thought, I mean, it doesn't matter. I can like turn it off. I can put it on sleep mode, whatever, and it'll be fine. And I didn't realize how much I would still like look for it. So it's funny now because I'll put it away about 9:15 is like my shutdown time. Like it goes, it tells
Mhm.
me a little reminder pops up. I go put it on the charger and then I'll go to bed, start getting ready, start getting things together. And it's amazing how many times I will lay down and be like, "Oh, I got to do that one thing." And I'll literally reach for it even though it's not there and be like, nope, just joking. Like, we're not doing that anymore.
That's so good.
And I think that it just like,
Do you use an actual alarm clock then?
yeah, I have an actual alarm
Okay.
clock. Not the old radio kind, though I did want that from my childhood. Where it's like, the one I'm talking about. It's like a rectangle with like a speaker
Yeah.
on top. It's just a regular little circle one that I got at Target. Um,
Look at you.
but it has been such a game changer. And in the mornings that I don't
Mm-hmm.
I think especially in the morning that I don't just roll over and
Yeah.
pick it up and start. It's like, no,
Yep.
I leave it on the charger until I'm ready to start work usually. Like, okay,
That's so good.
now's the time.
Yeah.
So I can get that whole morning time in and I'm not trying to balance back and forth. I think I'm learning that I was deceiving myself by thinking that I could
Sure.
control it and still like have it around me all the time. And it's like,
Well,
no.
and we talk about, you and I have talked a lot about this, especially since part of this conversation is going into a project I'll be working on and writing about. But this really is like a reflection of like what kinds of things are heart things and what kinds of things need some bounds and
Yeah.
boundaries. And how do we like shift ourselves towards who we really want to become, because it's not going to automatically happen.
Right.
And, it's hard because you're a super responsible human being. So you basically are like, I want to be at the ready at all at all times. But even as good of friends as we are, we can't work all day. We cannot be
Right.
like, oh, there are emergencies and then there are things that can just wait.
Yeah.
And we're both learning that just because we work so closely together, we don't need to, we could call it a day and we don't have to get to everything every day.
Yeah.
I do sometimes wonder that if I need some kind of a signal, or does there need to be some kind of thing that goes off in your house if I need you really badly? Like
a bat
what
signal.
if what if I need like some kind of device that actually like beams a light into your bedroom window and flashes, Ruth needs you. Like, I don't know. What
It's
if I
like
can't?
it's the RCS like logo. Like, here she
Yeah,
needs
I mean,
you.
what if it's like it only comes out when I really desperately need you? And
Well,
Cody's like,
it's funny. It's funny because I really debated. I was like, well, what if I literally went through this in my mind? Like, what if somebody really needs us in the middle of the night? Like, what if something goes wrong with like
Right.
our family, or like somebody has to call us because they need us, or
But your phone is turned on
whatever. Yeah,
silent anyway. It
I
won't
know.
ring.
It's not like it would be.
Right. Okay.
So
Because I wonder about this all the
I
time
know.
too.
We
really
debated.
do.
I like did all this research. So yeah, I did all this research about getting like a landline, but it's not really a landline. It's like a web-based landline because it's
Okay. Will you report back about this? Because
yes.
here's the thing. You know that when we were at the hospital with Judah, I hope everybody's caught up. There's multiple episodes about it. But when we were for a week in the ICU with him,
Yeah.
our children were home without a parent, and we had a teenager at home. But there was an emergency that happened in the middle of the night that turned out to not be an emergency, but it
It was like a
caused
scary minute.
a lot of fear. It was a very scary minute. And our son called us, and our phones were all on silent because we
Right.
sleep without our phones on.
Right.
And he ended up calling his older brother in college, and he picked up at 2 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
He needed somebody. And so I do wonder about that. Like, what do you do if there's,
I know.
I don't know.
Well, and we looked at
We're
just a regular landline, like back in the day, what you
Yeah.
would do. And it was some outrageous amount of money. It was like $75 or something a month. And I was like,
Do they even
no.
sell phones? Where do you
Yeah,
even buy a phone
I'm
anymore?
sure Amazon, I'm sure, has a phone. I'm sure
my
you could buy a
gosh.
phone. But so then I thought, well, should we just get like a little flip phone
A
that we like leave
landline?
on to
Oh.
keep in our room? Anyway, all that to say, we're doing none of that. We're just leaving the phones in the kitchen at night,
Okay.
and it's been fine. So
Well, now I know that I can't have an emergency that needs Eve Stipes in the middle of the night,
will
which
not- I
I'm
will not
fine.
hear.
I can't think of a time when anything's ever been that
That
kind of
urgent.
emergency. But yeah, the bat signal would be
I know,
nice.
we just, like,
the
shine.
RCS logo shines into the sky, and you're like, oh my gosh,
She needs
Ruth's
me.
in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I respect that, and I love that. I love that you and I are just works in progress in that, because I think we openly talk about how much we love working together, how much we both want to run the race well, and
Yeah.
how we're not like trying to burn out. And so
Right.
the best way to actually be effective and keep dreaming and to keep on being effective as a team or with one another or with whoever you're working with, that ultimately it's to have good boundaries like that and to
Yeah.
ultimately respect those things and to know how to help each other run the distance. So I love that you had a time thing, just like my bucket of time thing.
Yeah.
It's what I'm loving
Okay.
and learning.
Here
So,
we're at the best part though. What are you letting go right now?
okay. I have two for this.
I can't
Okay.
wait.
Well, I gave you two different ones. I have a literal letting go, and I have another like one of those like
Okay,
philosophical letting
give me
goes.
the
Okay,
philosophical one first.
okay. The philosophical one I'm letting go is the need to be understood fully.
Oh,
This is a hard
friend.
one for
I can't
me.
let go of that. I have to hold on to
Oh,
that one.
oh,
That's so hard.
oh! It is so hard.
It's the
I won't go into
worst.
all. I will not go into all, like, because obviously, as honest as I am here, I can't always share
Yeah. All
all
the
the scenarios that this relates to. Um, but like you can imagine,
Yes.
this is related to everything from professional things to personal things to lots and lots of relationship things, right?
Yeah.
I sat and I thought about this and I was like, I can't be honest about some other things that I'm still working on letting go of. But this is one of those. This is one of those that I'm like, I can think of three current situations where I'm not sure my point of view is understood fully.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that, and I'm not sure if I say 10 to 20 more thousand words, if that would help.
Right.
I would like to. I have about 10,000 more words I'd like to share to be like, hey, just to clarify further, or just to make it more understood,
Uh-huh.
or let me send 10 more texts about it,
Yeah.
or let's get together for 10 more coffees. And I'm not talking about some big conflicts, or I just mean when your point of view might have been taken a different way,
Yeah.
or when something didn't get resolved the way it would make you feel better. And so I I feel like this is a little bit different for me um than even like I think right now it's real popular because Mel Robbins' book just came out called Let Them.
Yeah.
I think that's really popular right now to think about this whole like I'm letting go of needing to control somebody else's narrative.
Yeah.
I respect that and I actually think that that's such a good one too. But I think this is almost like the flip side of it is like letting go of so maybe it is a let them mentality too, but it's consciously choosing to let go of the need to make sure that somebody truly understands. So is it letting them have the wrong narrative? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I do my part. I do my part to make sure that
Right.
I communicate effectively or but I'm also like, I think it's okay if the Lord has to work things out in the end.
Yeah.
Or if somebody just truly does, like, have you ever been in a situation where somebody comes back a few years later and go, it wasn't a really big deal, but I realize now that maybe I didn't understand what you were saying at that point, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's not even, it has to be some big, huge conflict. I just mean like, sometimes it's okay. Like, I tend to be somebody who wants to like really make sure we turn the thing
Let's
on
nail it
every
down.
let's make sure you saw every facet of my perspective. And I'm like, okay, it's okay to not be fully understood. We can still have relationships. We can still trust each other. We can still work on the relationship or work on the next thing that we're all doing together or whatever it is
Yeah.
without necessarily having my perspective fully unknown. And that's okay. So
Yeah.
that's my
Ugh.
philosophical one.
Okay, what's your little one
And
then?
it's my literal one is that I'm letting go of pants that don't fit me.
Yes. Okay, that's such a good thing to let go of.
I I've been taking bags too. Well, I've been thinking about Poshmarking in all
Yeah,
transparency. I've actually
you
been like,
should.
this is kind of crazy because for as much as I go through different things, um, one, because I think I like fashion, so I tend
You
to
think you do?
put my resource I think I like clothes
I
and I
think.
do find good deals, but I probably do spend a lot of my spending money on things that I I mean, I'm not real good about okay, back up real quick. I don't currently, as of this recording, I don't do Newly or Rent the
Right.
Runway. So I'm not good about renting things.
Mhm.
So I tend to buy things for events and, you know, all the
Yeah.
I like I like owning my stuff. I don't know if that's going to change, but that also means that I end up owning new things and the old things have to go away. So I've taken things in to consign or donate, whatever. But sometimes I think maybe I should just Poshmark it or sell it online. Do you remember that time I sold things on Instagram, on a special Instagram account
Yeah.
during the Super Bowl?
Uh-huh.
I mean, literally, it was like, I just assumed nobody was watching. I was like, I don't watch the Super Bowl. What other women are not watching the Super Bowl? So I was like, I'll just sell all my clothes I don't want anymore during the Super Bowl. It was kind of silly. It was years ago. It might be an effective method. I don't know. But regardless, I've been holding on to, and I wouldn't say that this is a perfect thing I've let go of because I can think of one pair of pants. They happen to be leather that I have not let go
Like
of.
committed to
They
holding
still
on
have,
to. Yeah.
I'm still
Just
committed.
in case.
Yeah. Yes. But also because I spent so much money on them that I
Yeah.
was like, oh, they were like an investment piece and I
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to let go of them. But all the jeans that I keep thinking, well, this will come back in style, or I guess I'll drop 20 pounds. I'm letting go of those.
Yeah.
And
I
it's kind of
support that.
painful when you're trying to be frugal. Like if you, because
Yeah.
you're like, well, what if I fluctuate? And I support, keeping a few sizes, but when I'm kind of like, oh, this was my skinny era, like that's kind of silly to hold on to that. So I'm physically putting those in bags and taking them to the consignment store and we'll probably list them at some point.
Wow.
So
I'm applauding you. Good job.
thank
Good
you.
job, friend.
All right. What about you? Are you philosophical or literal letting go of stuff?
A little bit of it's a little bit of both, and you're gonna laugh because you're just gonna laugh. I am letting go of keeping up my life on social media
Mm.
because I realized that this is where it came down to on my son's birthday. My oldest son Spencer was birthday was a few weeks ago, and I like took pictures and stuff like you normally would at a party, but I didn't post about it. And then like 3 days later, I was like, oh, should I put a post up? And then I was like, why? Like, what am I putting a post up for when it's just his birthday? I mean, if I really had something to say, then
Sure.
yes, like I will
But
share
you're letting
it.
go of the need to be like,
This
this is
happened.
a photo album of my life all the time,
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but can I give you one little tip?
Yes.
I think our teammate Anna does this really, really well.
I know she does the
She just goes,
roundups.
she completely goes missing for like months,
And then she'll
weeks.
just do
And then
a
she'll just be like,
photo dump.
it was 3 months ago, but here's the dump of all the things that I did in January. And she'll just put everything in there. But it's almost like, it's great because it's kind of like I pay attention to my life.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to post it for you to know what I'm currently doing.
Right.
But I'll just go back a few months later and be like, I have lots to be grateful for in the
Yeah.
month of January. Here are all the things. And then February, and she does them back to back. So
Yeah.
she'll be like, I finally showed up and here's 3 months at one time. She'll
Well,
literally
that's
be
like so our old teammate Jen does these beautiful like quarterly video updates of like kind of like the
oh,
highlights.
she does.
Yeah, they're
I
so
know.
pretty.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe I'll do that, but maybe I won't. I really just in my heart settled
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't have
Yeah.
to post about it. It happened. People were here. We loved it. He's 7. It's amazing. I
Love
love
it.
him. He has so many fun, quirky things about him. And I don't necessarily need to post about it. So, but what I'm saying you're going to laugh is because I like haven't posted regularly for a while already. So it's not like I've been in the habit of like putting every life thing up there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but I finally made peace with it in my heart to let go and say I'm not going to feel bad about it or like weird about
Yeah.
it. I'm just going to let it be. If I have something to say, I will share it. But if I don't, if it's really just like look how cute my kids are, I'm not going to.
But I think the struggle is real. And I just want to name it real quick and say, I mean, yes, there are content creators, period. Yes. Like that's a
for
whole
sure.
other
That is not
conversation.
me.
But I think for all of us, even for somebody like me, where I'm not primarily, my job primarily is not to make money by creating content on social media.
Yeah.
So I run into the conflict of like, there's a real life going on and
Yeah.
I kind of get excited about it, birthday parties or dinners. And I struggle with, I don't know if you'll laugh at this, but I think sometimes for me, it's that I love making beautiful videos of my own life and I want to go.
Yes. You're like, I want it to be a beautiful memory and a beautiful.
Can I tell you how silly it is that my boys and I go back and watch my own stories of our trips?
Yeah.
Like when we went to Moab and I did like 20 stories about
Uh-huh.
it, I don't think what was happening was fundamentally that I need people to know that I know how to go to the desert and travel.
Yeah.
I'm traveling or I am doing stuff. In fact, we're always posting anything like that. I'm always posting those things after
After.
the fact because I've already gone. Like I'm already left the place
Yeah.
because in the present I'm not posting about it. But I crack up that half the time it's because I want to see my life
I'd like to go back and
in those
relive that.
stories. Yes. And so I actually think it's this tension of like wanting to learn to be in the moment and so that I'm actually really enjoying it, which I think I've grown a lot in that. And I don't feel like I'm distracted in the moment.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I do feel like I can do that well. But then the posting about it part, I can think of several things on my camera roll right now that I haven't posted about that I think there are moments when I'm like, "Oh, it was such a really fun experience. I should post about it." But it's the should part. It's the when
Mhm.
you get to the should. I
Yeah.
think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is like there's a lot of good reasons to do it. Like
Right.
if you want to post about it because you're like,
Yeah.
my life is a movie. I want to see it and I want to make a beautiful reel of it, then do it.
Yeah.
If you want it to live on as like a memory anchor of like what I did in January,
Yeah.
then do it. But if it's that feeling of like I should, because if I
Mhm.
don't, I kind of feel like I didn't show that I did anything interesting.
Right.
That's the thing that we want to combat, right?
Yeah.
Because then that feels enslaving. Anything that feels like,
Yeah.
oh, the obligation makes me feel like, do I even have a life? Am I interesting?
Right.
I don't want to ever post for those reasons,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's totally where I'm at right now. Just
I love it.
letting it be, letting it go.
I love it. Well, listen, here's the thing. We talk all the time, but most of the time we get on and you have a list a mile long
I do.
of like things I need to answer for you, stuff, whether I'm going to say yes to an event
Decisions.
or,
Yeah.
decisions. But this is actually really fun. Can we do this?
Yeah.
Let's say meet you here in a month or so, in a
Ish.
few weeks,
Yeah.
because this is so good because I actually don't think I know these things about your life
It is
because
like new.
I don't know if our friends who listen and watch know that as close as we are and as much as we've shown up at events together or on the podcast together, I don't know your everyday life because I don't go to church with you.
Yeah.
I don't have come over for dinner. We don't live in the same state. I love your kiddos, but I only see them like once or twice a year, And
Yeah.
so we don't always know
Yeah. And
what's
it's
going
like
on. And so,
we have so much work stuff to do that sometimes we
yeah,
don't get to. We don't have like
yeah,
natural life overlap for all of the
yeah.
other things. So it'll be a good catch up for
But
us and kind of
I
learning.
love it. But I also feel like this is really the heart of why I'm even podcasting at all, because I joke all the time that
Yeah.
I really don't even love podcasting. Like I don't want to like just record stuff all the time. But I think it's that when we're trying to apply the gospel in our everyday lives, when we're trying to learn how to walk with the Lord,
Yeah.
a lot of times we just don't see these real sides of people, right? We
Yeah.
read books, we listen to really well done podcasts, and we watch the TV shows or the talk shows or all the wonderful content that's out there is great. But sometimes it's almost like, can I just sit down with a friend and find out
How does
what they're
that work?
learning,
Yeah. How does that
what
actually
they're
work?
loving? And I actually probably, if we were having coffee, I'd say, I'm letting go of this. Like this is, I got to be done with this. And so, thanks for joining us today in
Yeah.
my catch up with Eve and our conversation of what we're loving, learning, and what we're letting go of. And so, if you love this episode, share it with a friend. Leave us a comment on YouTube. We go through and see
Yeah.
those comments on my YouTube channel, but leave us a review. We'd love to know what you're experiencing, whether you love this new format or not. And also, if you've got an idea for what we should call
Yeah. We
this
need them. We need your suggestions.
monthly-ish format of me and Eve catching up for all to hear, I would love to know what you guys would like us to call this segment. So until next time, we love you all. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.